At 4:03 in the morning, I walked out of my son's house with a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a secret that could put 2 grown people in prison. A taxi rolled up to the curb, its headlights washed over us. The driver leaned over and pushed the back door open. To him, it was just another ride. To me, it was the first step out of a trap. If you are over 45 and you are listening, please do not scroll away. One day, a story like this might come close to your own life, or to someone you love. Please hit the subscribe button, tap like, and tell me in the comments what country you are listening from. I want this story to reach every grandmother and grandfather who thinks they have no more choices. You may have more strength than you imagine. My name is Bernice Monroe, but most people call me Miss Barry. I am 66 years old. For 40 years I worked as a nurse at a children's hospital in Charlotte. For many of those years I was the head nurse on my floor. I walked long halls, listened to beeping machines, held tiny hands, and made fast decisions while parents cried by the bed. That kind of work builds a clock inside you. My body still wakes up before dawn without an alarm, ready to check on someone. When I retired, I planned a quiet life in my small condo near uptown Charlotte. It was simple, but it was mine. Then my son, Darius, came to visit. He sat at my table, took my hand, and smiled the way children smile when they are about to ask for something big. One Sunday afternoon, my son Darius sat at my little table and said, "Mama, you shouldn't be alone." Sabrina and I found a house in Huntersville. It has a yard, good schools, a finished basement. We can all live together. You help with the kids, and we'll take care of you. 3 generations, 1 home. That's real family. Those words hooked right into my heart. I thought of holidays together, of Malik and Zoe running through the yard, of someone to bring me tea when my knees hurt. I told myself this was a blessing. I sold my condo. I watched my name slide off the papers. When the money came into my account, I sent it straight to Darius and his wife for the down payment on their new house. Sabrina smiled and said, "We like things clean and simple, Miss Barry. No clutter. It keeps our minds clear." They gave me a small bedroom on the first floor, right by the kitchen. "So it's easier for you to move around, Mama," Darius said. I smiled and thanked him. I did not say out loud the thought that rose in my chest. Easier for me to move from my bed to the stove, from the stove to the sink, and back again. My days in that house quickly fell into a tight loop. I woke up while it was still dark. I put on my robe and soft shoes and walked into the cold, bright kitchen. I started the big silver coffee machine that Sabrina ordered online. I do not drink coffee anymore. My doctor told me to stay away from it. But Sabrina liked the smell at 8 o'clock sharp when she came downstairs from the master bedroom. While the coffee dripped and hissed, I mixed pancake batter. I made small round pancakes for Zoe and bigger ones for Malik. Malik was 6, serious, with dark eyes that noticed everything. Zoe was 4, loud and bright, like a little firework that never quite went out. When they came into the kitchen in their pajamas and yelled, "Grandma!" my chest felt lighter. I told myself, this is worth it. This is why you are here. Darius and Sabrina both worked from home. They had separate offices upstairs. They spent most days behind closed doors, talking into screens. I learned their rules fast. No vacuuming near the offices during calls. Keep the kids quiet while they were in meetings. Make sure there was lunch ready at noon and dinner warming at 6. If Sabrina opened a drawer and found a spoon in the wrong place, she pressed her lips together and said, "Miss Barry, let's try to be more organized." On paper, I was retired. In reality, I was a live-in nanny, cook, and cleaning lady working 24 hours a day for free. My pay was a small room, a few kind words, and the soft promise, "Well, take care of you, Mama." Many of you listening know that promise. It sounds sweet and feels heavy. The first strange thing happened on a cold, rainy night, about a year after I moved in. I woke up a little before 4 in the morning. At first I thought it was my old hospital habit waking me, telling me it was time to check on my patients. Then I heard soft footsteps above me. The master bedroom door creaked open. 2 sets of steps walked down the upstairs hall, slow and careful. I lay very still. The footsteps came down the stairs. They passed my door. A thin line of light under the door broke for a second as 2 shadows moved across it. Then the light came back. The steps went to the end of the hallway, to the heavy oak door that led down to the basement. I heard a key turning in a lock. A dull clunk. The door opened, then closed. A few seconds later, a low humming sound rose from the floor, like a faraway engine. The next night, the same thing happened. The night after that, too. Almost exactly at 4 a.m, the door upstairs, the quiet steps, the basement lock, the soft hum. At 7, another clunk, and the same steps in reverse. At 8, Darius and Sabrina came down for coffee and pancakes with calm faces and neat clothes, as if they had slept all night. The nurse inside me started to whisper. Why did I sometimes catch the faint sting of disinfectant when I walked past the basement door in the daytime? Why did my son's eyes look hollow some mornings, the way family members looked after sitting up all night beside a bed in intensive care? I pushed those thoughts away. I told myself I was being silly and suspicious. I told myself nothing truly dark could be hiding under the same roof as my grandchildren. I was wrong. The truth was waiting for me in that basement, humming beneath my feet, and it was going to change everything. Stay with me now, and keep listening closely. That night in late December 2022, I woke up before the house did. The rain was hitting the windows. The red numbers on my clock said 3:30 a.m. For a moment I did not know why I was awake. Then a small, shaking hand grabbed my arm. "Grandma," Malik whispered. "Grandma, wake up." I sat up fast. Malik stood beside my bed in his dinosaur pajamas. His eyes were wide. His cheeks were wet. "Baby, what happened?" I asked. "Did you have a nightmare?" He nodded and climbed into the bed without waiting. I pulled him close. His skin was hot and damp. I could feel his heart pounding against my ribs. "I dreamed you were in the basement," he said in a small, rough voice. "They locked you down there. And Aunt Lydia was crying and nobody helped her." For a second I could not talk. My mouth went dry. I had never told this child much about Lydia. He only knew she had passed away years ago. Hearing her name tied to the basement made my chest squeeze. "How do you know about Aunt Lydia in the basement?" I asked, trying to sound calm. He frowned. "Sometimes I hear Mama and Daddy," he whispered. "They say her name. They say, 'Check the drip.' They say, 'If anybody finds out, we're done.' I don't like when they go downstairs, Grandma. I feel sick. Check the drip." Those 3 words cut through me. Regular people do not say that. Nurses do. Doctors do. I had said those words my whole career. I hugged him tighter. "You're safe here with me," I told him. "Nobody is locking your grandma anywhere. Not while I can still move." I whispered a simple story until his breathing slowed and his muscles relaxed. Soon he was snoring a little, soft and deep. He had dropped the heavy dream in my lap and gone back to his own light, easy sleep. Mine was gone. I lay in the dark and listened to the house. The refrigerator hummed. The heater clicked. Rain tapped on the glass. In my mind, Lydia sat across from me on my condo balcony in Charlotte, laughing with her red scarf around her neck. Then the picture snapped to Darius' voice on the phone. "Car crash. Aneurysm. She's gone, Mama." It was fast. I handled everything. It was what she wanted. For 5 years, something in me had whispered that the story was too fast, too neat. Most days, I pressed that thought down. Now Malik's dream had pulled it back up. The clock in the living room chimed 4 soft times. Right on time, the floor above my room creaked. I heard the master bedroom door open. 2 sets of footsteps crossed the hall. Sabrina's quick, light steps. Darius' slower, heavier ones. I knew that sound. I had heard it many nights now. They went to the stairs and came down. The boards groaned. They passed my door. A thin line of light under it broke, then came back as they walked by. At the end of the hall, the basement door sighed. The handle turned, metal scraped. The deep lock clunked into place. The door shut. A few seconds later, the hum started under my feet, steady and low. I had called it many things in my head. Dehumidifier, water system, air filter, anything but what it really sounded like. A machine I had heard beside hospital beds. Lying there with Malik's words in my ears, I could not lie to myself anymore. My body shook, but my thinking cleared. This was the same feeling I used to get when someone yelled code at work. Your heart drops, but your hands know what to do. You can lie here and let your mind run wild, I told myself. Or you can get up and see. Carefully, so I would not wake Malik, I slid out from under the covers. I tucked the blanket around his small body and smoothed his curls. He sighed and turned over. I opened my bedroom door just enough to slip through. The hallway was dark. A small nightlight in the living room made a weak yellow puddle on the floor. The neat daytime house looked strange and hollow. I did not turn on a light. I knew where the boards creaked. Years of walking past sleeping patients helped me move without noise. As I came closer to the basement door, the hum grew louder. A smell met me too. Bleach, plastic, metal. It was thin but clear. It smelled like a hospital hallway at 4 a.m. It did not belong in a family basement. "This is not a storage room," the nurse in me said. "Someone is down there." My heart beat so hard I felt it in my throat. My palms were wet. Part of me wanted to run back to my room. The other part pushed me forward. The basement door had an old, wide keyhole with a round top and a narrow slit. I had dusted around it many times. I had never looked through it. Tonight I did. I went down on my knees. The wood under me was cold. I put one hand on the door to steady myself. With the other, I touched the metal ring around the keyhole. It felt colder than the rest of the door. "Lord," I whispered, "help me see what is already true." Then I put my eye to the opening. At first I saw only darkness. I held my breath. Slowly, the dark turned into shapes. The basement was almost empty. The floor was bare and clean. A small lamp in the corner gave off a soft light. In the middle of the room stood a hospital bed with metal rails. An IV pole stood beside it. A clear bag hung there. A thin line ran from the bag to the person on the bed. Sabrina stood with her back to me. She wore leggings and a big t-shirt. Her hair was tied up. Her movements were slow and careful. She checked the drip chamber, tapped the IV line, and adjusted the clamp with neat little turns of her fingers. Those were not random motions. They were the motions of someone who had watched real nurses work. "Where did you learn that?" I thought, feeling my jaw clench. My eyes moved to the person in the bed. The blanket was pulled up to the chin. One thin arm lay on top of the sheet, skin pale, IV taped in place. The face was turned a little away at first. I saw the curve of a cheek. Then the person stirred and turned toward my side. The lamplight slid over the whole face. My heart stopped and then slammed so hard I thought it might break my ribs. The hair was thinner and grayer. The cheeks were hollow. There were dark shadows under the eyes. But the eyebrows, the nose, the tiny scar at the edge of the top lip, I knew all of it. It was Lydia, my sister, the girl who had shared a bed with me when we were poor and young, the woman who had sat beside me on long night shifts and made ugly patients laugh. The person my son had told me was dead and gone. A scream shot up my throat. I caught it with my hand. I pressed my palm over my mouth so hard my jaw hurt. A thin, broken sound still escaped. Lydia's eyes stayed closed. She did not see me. Her chest rose and fell in small, shallow breaths. Her lips were slightly open. She looked like she was sleeping inside a block of ice. I pulled away from the keyhole and leaned my forehead against the door. Tears burned my eyes. For a moment I felt like the hallway was tilting. How could he? I thought. How could my own son do this? Pictures of Darius flipped through my mind. A boy with scraped knees, a teenager grinning with his first car keys, a grown man in my old condo, holding a box of ashes. "She's gone, Mama." There was nothing they could do. I handled everything. The pain came at me like a wave. It tried to knock me flat. Under it, something old and hard pushed back. At the hospital I had seen more than I ever wanted to see. Fires, crashes, cruel people, broken people. I had learned one thing. If you let your feelings lead, you freeze. If you freeze, someone dies. You have to separate feelings from facts. You look, you name, you act, I told myself. "Fact," I said silently, as if I were filling out a chart. Lydia Monroe, alive, bedbound, on IV, in my son's basement, hidden, money tied to her name still coming. 2 children asleep upstairs. My breathing slowed. My hands still shook, but less. The fear moved over and made space for something colder. On my hands and knees, I backed away from the door. I did not want the floor to creak. I did not want Sabrina to see any shadow move under the crack. When I was far enough, I stood and walked back to my room. I slipped inside and closed the door quietly. Malik was still curled on my bed. Zoe was a small bundle of blankets in her little cot. Their steady breathing filled the room. I sat on the edge of the bed and let the dark settle around me. It did not feel empty now. It felt crowded with sharp truths. Lydia is alive. Darius and Sabrina are hiding her. They are using my sister's body like a bank. My grandchildren are sleeping above a crime scene. You are a nurse, I told myself. You do triage. You do not fall apart. You decide what to do first. In that moment, I stopped being just a tired grandmother in the first-floor room. In that small space, with my grandchildren's breath and my sister's face pressed into my mind, I felt my old self return. I was the head nurse again, and this whole house had just become my new ward. When I stepped away from that basement door, I knew I was done pretending my family was normal. I had seen Lydia's face, pale on a pillow, an IV taped to her arm, machines humming in the dark. My sister was not gone somewhere far away. She was alive under my son's house. For a moment I stood in the hallway, hand on the wall, shaking. I wanted to scream or run, but the old nurse in me said one word: think. For years at the children's hospital, when alarms rang, we did triage. Sitting on my bed in that quiet Huntersville house, I did triage on my own people. First, I whispered, Malik and Zoe. 6 and 4. Sleeping over a crime scene. They can't stay here. Second, me. Bernice Miss Barry Monroe, 66. Still thinking clear. I have to walk out with them. Third, Lydia, 68. Alive, sedated, locked downstairs. I will not leave her behind, but I can't drag a bed up the stairs with 2 kids and 2 liars in this house. Saving her is the long battle. It cut my chest to say Lydia's name last, but speaking the order made my hands stop shaking. My hands finally steadied. I glanced at the clock. 4:18 a.m. Darius and Sabrina always went down at 4 and came back up at 7. I had less than 3 hours to get my grandchildren out. Step 1, I told myself. Papers and money. From the bottom drawer, I took the big brown envelope I never let leave my room. It held my passport, the children's birth certificates, social security cards, and a few other papers. When we first moved in, Sabrina had said, "Well, keep all this in our safe, Miss Barry." Id told her, "Baby, I'm old-fashioned. I sleep better when my papers are near my socks." I slid the envelope into my faded blue travel bag. Then I reached for the small tin box in the back of the drawer, the one that held my extra cash. It was just what I'd saved from my Social Security check after groceries and small things for the kids. I took every bill and tucked them into the side pocket. Step 2. Clothes. I picked sweatpants, t-shirts, socks, and underwear for Malik and Zoe, 1 extra outfit each, and a change of clothes for me. I added toothbrushes and a small comb. I chose clothes we wore all the time, so nothing special would look missing in the morning. I rolled everything tight and fit it into the bag so it still looked small and ordinary. Then I reached into the back of my closet and into an old winter glove. My fingers closed around a small, hard shape. My secret. I pulled out a cheap red flip phone. Years ago, I'd bought it, loaded a little money on it just in case, and hid it. When I moved here, I brought it and hid it again. Id never used it. My shiny smartphone sat on the nightstand. That one was on their family plan. They could see my calls. Maybe they could see where I went. The red flip phone was mine alone. I flipped it open. The tiny screen lit up. There was still enough balance for calls. I slid it into the travel bag. For a second, I thought about taking the smartphone too. Then I pictured Sabrina watching a little dot walk away from this house. Let them track that, I thought, putting the phone back exactly where it was. They'll think I stomped off mad, not that I ran with a plan. Now I had to wake the children. I went to Zoe first. She was 4 and slept light. I knelt by her little bed and brushed her curls back. "Zoe," I whispered, "Sunshine, wake up. Grandma needs you." She mumbled and rolled toward me. "We're playing a special game," I murmured. "Secret spies. Only big kids can play. We have to get dressed and sneak out of the house very quiet. No loud talking, no stomping. Can you do that?" Her eyes opened at the word game. She nodded. I dressed her in soft pants and a sweatshirt. When her foot got stuck, she giggled. I put a finger to my lips. She slapped her own hand over her mouth, eyes wide. Then I touched Malik's shoulder. Malik, I whispered. Baby, wake up. It's Grandma. He sat up fast. Did they go downstairs again? He whispered. Yes, I said. And we're not waiting this time. We have a mission. We're leaving. Right now. He stared at me. Do they know? He asked. This mission is just for us, I said. Zoe is little. I am old. I can think, but you hear better and see better. I need you to be my main protector. Can you do that? His small shoulders went straight. Yes, ma'am, he said. Good, I answered. Get dressed. Quiet and quick. He dressed without another word. In a few minutes, both children were in sweatpants and socks. I put their jackets on and stuffed hats and gloves into my coat pockets. I slung the travel bag over my shoulder. I stood in the middle of my room and looked around one last time. The bed was made. The framed picture of Lydia and me at a hospital picnic leaned against the lamp. My hand lifted toward it, then dropped. You'll bring her out later, I told myself. You can carry her face in your mind for now. We stepped into the hallway in our socks. I pulled my door almost shut, just as I always did at night. The low hum from the basement came up through the floor. Darius and Sabrina were still down there with their secret. Remember, I whispered. We're mice. Hold Grandma's hands. Malik grabbed my left hand. Zoe held my right. Together we walked past the dark living room and the too-clean kitchen. At the front door I stopped. My fingers closed around the deadbolt. I turned it slowly. The tiny click sounded loud. We froze. Nothing. I opened the door a crack. Cold, damp air slipped in. I opened it wider and we slipped onto the porch. I closed the door behind us but did not lock it. We went down the steps and across the front yard. I didn't want to stand under the porch light where anyone could see us. At the corner of the yard, a tall hedge ran along the side street. We ducked behind it and huddled close. I set the travel bag on the ground and pulled the red flip phone from my pocket. Malik looked at it. That's not your regular phone, he whispered. Spy phone, I said. He nodded. Zoe pressed into my coat. I flipped the phone open and scrolled through the tiny list of numbers until I saw Crown Taxi. I pressed call. Carolina Crown Taxi. A sleepy voice answered. Good morning, I said. I need a cab in Huntersville, please. I gave her the address of the next street over. Not our exact one. How many passengers? She asked. 3, I said. As soon as you can. 10. 15 minutes, she replied. I closed the phone. 10 or 15 minutes is nothing on a normal day. We waited. Cars whispered along the interstate far away. Malik leaned against my side. Zoe trembled a little. We're just waiting for our ride, I told them softly. Headlights turned the corner at the end of the block. The car slowed at the house I'd named, then rolled toward us. I stepped out from behind the hedge and raised my hand. The taxi pulled over. The driver, an older black man, rolled down his window and squinted at us. Miss Barry? He asked. Yes, sir, I said. He looked at the kids and the bag. Cold hour to be out, he said. It's a good hour to start over, I answered. He unlocked the back door. I settled the children inside, buckled their belts, and climbed in beside them. I gave him the name of a small motel off I-77 near Rock Hill, just across the South Carolina line. That's a bit of a ride, he said. I know, I replied. We've got an early train. He pulled away from the curb. I kept my eyes on the road ahead. My real family was in that back seat, warm against my sides. The rest, the basement, the lies, the people who chose money over blood could wait for daylight and for the law. In the contacts was a number I had not used in years. Dr. Isaiah Langford. Isaiah had started at our hospital as a skinny young doctor who was always nervous and always trying. To me, he was still the man who once said, Miss Barry, can you show me how to tell bad news without falling apart? I pressed call. The line rang. Langford? A voice said. Isaiah. I said. It's Bernice. Bernice Monroe, from the Children's Hospital. There was a short pause. Miss Barry, he said. How are you? You okay? No, I said. I'm not okay. And what I'm about to say will sound crazy. But you know me. I don't see ghosts. I need your help and your promise to keep this between us for now. His tone changed. You have my word, he said. Tell me. So I told him. I told him about the 4 a.m. footsteps, the lock, the humming from the basement. I told him about the smell of antiseptic, the hospital bed, the IV line, my sister's face. "Isaiah," I said when I finished, "5 years ago my son told me Lydia died from a burst blood vessel in her brain. He brought me an urn. He said he handled everything. I buried those ashes. Last night I watched my sister breathe in his basement. He did not ask if I was sure. 'Here is what I can do,' he said. 'I'll check the hospital system for every record in her name. Admissions, discharges, death certificates, insurance notes. I'll check the city records too. Where are you?' 'In a motel off I-77, just over the South Carolina line,' I said, and gave him the name and room number. I left the house with the kids. Nobody else knows." "Good," he said. "Stay there. Do not go back to that house. Do not call your son. Let me see what the paper says. I'll call you back as soon as I know anything." He hung up. I set the phone on the little round table. My mind went back to the day Darius called with the news of Lydia's death. I had been stirring pot of soup. His voice had been smooth and sad. Sudden, nothing they could do. Cremation was her wish. "Let me take care of it, Mama." I had thanked him. I had not asked to see one single paper. The phone rang again. "Isaiah?" I said. "Yes," he answered. Now his voice was flat, like when we had to tell parents hard truth. I checked what I could. "There is no death certificate for your sister. On paper, she never died." I sat down on the edge of the bed. "What I did find," he went on, "is that about 5 years ago, she was admitted to the ICU after a car accident. Head injury. She was in a coma, but stable. They planned to move her to rehab if she improved. 3 weeks later, there's a discharge form. It says she was released to home care under one responsible caregiver. Your son's name is on that line." "Darius," I whispered. "Yes, ma'am," he said. He brought a general power of attorney. It gave him control over her medical decisions and her money. The scan is in the file. It's dated 6 months before the accident. He told the staff he was her only close family. He said you two were estranged. To cut me out, my own son had erased me on paper." "Isaiah," I asked, "why would he do all that?" He sighed. "Her husband, Reginald," he said. "He worked for a defense company, right?" "Yes, he died the year before," I answered. "Well," Isaiah said, "I can't see all the dollar amounts, but I see notes about a big pension and a big life insurance policy. All of it went to Lydia. It keeps paying as long as she is alive on paper. That is a lot of money, Miss Barry. Enough for a nice house and more." My mind jumped back to the Huntersville cul-de-sac, the shiny SUVs, the granite counters. "So, for 5 years," I said slowly, "someone has been using money meant for my sister." "Yes," he said, "under that power of attorney." Something in me went very still. "Thank you," I said. "You gave me the proof I needed." "I'm going to call someone I know at the state health department," he said, quietly. "There are rules about hidden patients. But you be careful, Miss Barry. People don't let go of that kind of money without a fight." "I understand," I said. "I'm not done yet either." We said goodbye. I closed the phone. Then I pulled an old tablet from my bag. Its black case was cracked at the corner. Darius had given it to me for my birthday a few years back. "So, you can watch videos and look up recipes," Head said. I had smiled, thanked him, then barely used it. I turned it on and joined the motel Wi-Fi. I opened the website for the bank Lydia and I had always used. Years ago, she and I had opened a small joint savings account for emergencies. We had put in a little money now and then. I had almost forgotten it existed. The login page came up. My fingers remembered the username and password. 2 accounts showed on the screen. One was my small pension account. The other was the old joint reserve account with Lydia. The number in that second line made my heart pound. I knew where that money came from now. Insurance, pension, interest, years of payments meant for her care. This is not their cushion, I thought. It was meant to carry Lydia, and they turned her into a secret machine in the dark. I clicked transfer. In the from box, I chose the joint account. In the to box, I chose my pension account. In the amount box, I typed the full balance. Every cent. A small window popped up. "Are you sure?" I saw Lydia's still face. I saw my grandchildren asleep a few feet away. "Yes," I whispered, and tapped confirm. A green bar flashed. "Transaction complete," it said. In that plain motel room, with the sun just starting to touch the tops of the trees outside and two little bodies breathing softly on the bed, I had just yanked the ground out from under my son and his cold, careful wife. They thought I was just the help. They were about to learn who I really was. They thought I was just the help. They were about to learn who I really was. After I moved the money, I sat very still. The motel room was quiet except for the buzz of the heater. Outside, the sky was turning from black to gray. This was the hour when I used to start coffee in their big white kitchen. Now I was starting something very different. My flip phone lay on the table. It looked small and harmless, but it had just opened a crack in their world. The next step was to bring in someone who had the power to walk through their front door with a badge. The phone buzzed. It was Isaiah calling back. "I filed a report," he said. "I did not use your name. I just gave facts. A patient who should be in a rehab setting might be locked in a private home. No one has done a home visit in years. What happens now?" I asked. "The health department has a special unit for this," he said. "They send inspectors out. They have the right to see the living space and the patient." I gave them the address. They promised to send someone today. Today. Not next week. Not someday. Today. "Thank you," I said. "You just gave my sister her first real chance in 5 years. You did the hard part," he answered. "You saw something and you acted." After we hung up, I went down to the motel office. The sky outside was light now. The clerk at the front desk yawned. "I need to pay for another night," I told him. "Card or cash?" he asked. "Card," I said, and pulled out my pension card. As I slid it across the counter, another memory clicked in. Months ago, Sabrina had sat beside me on the couch and said, "Here, Miss Barry, I set up text alerts for your account on my phone. That way I can make sure you never run out of money." I had thanked her. I had not thought about what it meant. Now I thought about it. She would get a message in a few minutes. Purchase, small motel, Rock Hill. She would know I was in a motel just over the state line with her children and her mother-in-law's name on the room. I signed the receipt. It felt like planting a flag. Back in the room, Malik and Zoe were waking up. I brought them small boxes of cereal and little cartons of milk from the lobby. We sat on the end of one bed and ate together. "Are we going home?" Zoe asked between bites. "Not to the old house," I said. "We will have a new home. But we have to do some hard things first." Malik watched my face. "Are Mama and Daddy in trouble?" he asked. I did not want to pour my anger into his ears. "Grown-ups who make dangerous choices have to answer for them," I said. "The important thing is that you and Zoe are safe, and Aunt Lydia will get real help now." He nodded. "She did not look okay," he whispered. "No," I said, "she did not. But she can get better. That is what we are fighting for." When they were busy with cartoons on the tiny TV, I picked up the flip phone again. There was one more call I had to make, one I had never imagined I would make in my whole life. I dialed the number for Child Protective Services. I had given that number to parents many times when I was a nurse, but I had never called it for myself. A woman answered. Her voice was calm and tired. "This is Bernice Monroe," I said. "I'm the grandmother of 2 children. I took them out of a dangerous home last night. Their parents are hiding a very sick woman in the basement and using her money. The children do not know everything, but they have seen strange things. I have proof and a witness in the health department. She asked me questions, names, ages, address, where we were now. 'Can I come to you?' she asked. 'I can meet you at the motel.' 'Yes,' I said. 'But they'll come too. Their parents. As soon as they see the bank transfer and the card alert, they will come looking for us. I know them. They will not call the police. They will try to fix it themselves.' 'That is actually useful,' the woman said. 'If they come to you and act out in front of my team, we see who they really are. We can move faster.' 'How would that work?' I asked. 'We can rent the room next door,' she said. 'There is usually a connecting door. We keep it cracked. We listen. We record. If they threaten you or grab the children, my officer steps in right away.' I let out a long breath. 'So, we set a trap,' I said. 'We set a truth test,' she answered. 'You already did the brave part. You grabbed those kids and stepped out. Now, let us do our job.' We agreed on a time. She said her name was Ms. Evans and that she would be there by noon with a hotel security officer. I hung up and looked at the connecting door in our room. It was painted the same dull beige as the walls. A simple door, but soon it might become the line between two lives. While we waited, time stretched. Malik played with the small notepad from the bedside table, drawing lines that looked like train tracks. Zoe put her dolls in a row and told them, "We are on a trip. Grandma is in charge." Her simple faith hit me hard. I had taken charge of hundreds of children in the hospital. This was harder. Those children went home. These two had no other safe home to go to but me. If you are listening to this and you are over 45, maybe even retired like me, hear this part clearly. People may treat you like you are finished, like your only job now is to be quiet, say yes, and stay out of the way. Do not believe that. You still know how to act. You still know how to protect. You still know how to draw a line and say, "No more." If this story stirs something in your chest, tap the like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you are listening from. These stories are not just for drama. They are maps for people who feel trapped. Around 11:30, there was a knock at the motel room door. I checked the peephole. A black woman in a gray pantsuit stood there holding a folder. Beside her was a stocky white man in a security uniform. I opened the door on the chain. "Ms. Monroe?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I'm Ms. Patrice Evans from Child Protective Services," she said. "This is Mr. Nolan from Hotel Security. May we come in and talk?" I let them in. Malik and Zoe went quiet. I knelt beside them. "These are helpers," I said. "They make sure children are safe. You can sit and listen. You don't have to talk if you don't want to." We all sat at the small table. I told the story again. The late-night footsteps. The lock. The humming. The smell. The bed. My sister's face. The money. The bank transfer. Isaiah's report. The health department inspector on the way to the house. Ms. Evans took notes. Mr. Nolan listened with his arms crossed. "When your son and his wife arrive at the motel, how do you think they will act?" she asked. "They will be angry and scared," I said. "The transfer went through an hour ago. I just paid for this room with my card. Sabrina gets alerts on that card. She is not the type to sit still and think. She is the type to hunt." Ms. Evans closed her folder. "All right," she said. "Here is our plan. Mr. Nolan and I will move into the room next door. Well, ask the front desk to open the connecting doors between the two rooms. Well, leave your side closed but not locked. Well, crack our side. We will hear the whole conversation. I will record it. If they stay calm and reasonable, I may step in at the end and explain that the children are staying with you for a while. If they shout, threaten, or grab, we come through that door. Do you understand?" I looked at Malik and Zoe. They watched us with big eyes. "I understand," I said. "This will not be easy," Ms. Evans said, "but you have done the right thing every step of the way. Whatever happens next, you will not be alone in that room." They went out to the hallway to arrange their room. I heard doors opening and closing. A few minutes later, the connecting door handle on our wall jingled softly. I opened it and saw Ms. Evans on the other side with her recorder. "We're here," she said. "When they arrive, just be yourself. Do not say anything you do not mean. Do not try to make them mad on purpose. Just tell the truth. We will take care of the rest." I closed the door. Malik slid his hand into mine. "I'm scared," he whispered. "I am too," I said, "but scared people can still do brave things." About 40 minutes later, heavy footsteps thundered down the outside walkway. Someone slammed a car door hard enough to make the window rattle. A woman's voice rose, sharp and angry. A man's voice answered, high and desperate. They had found us. The real test would start. The footsteps outside our door got louder. Someone was running along the outside hallway of the motel in boots that shook the thin walls all around us. A fist hit our door so hard the chain rattled. "Open this door, Mama! Open it right now!" It was Darius. My son's voice was high and cracked with fear. Zoe jumped. Malik grabbed my arm. My own heart was beating fast, but my voice stayed steady. "It's all right," I whispered to the kids. "Remember what I told you. Stay behind me. Don't talk unless I ask you to. Keep one hand on me." Another round of pounding. "I know you're in there. I saw the card alert. Don't play with me, Mama." He didn't know that every noise he made was going to help me now. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Darius stood there, hair wild, eyes red. Behind him, Sabrina paced like a caged animal. Her neat mask was gone. Her hair was pulled back in a rough knot. She clutched her phone like a weapon. I unhooked the chain and opened the door halfway. I did not step aside. "Good morning," I said. Sabrina shoved the door the rest of the way and pushed past me. Darius followed, breathing hard. The door banged the wall. Zoe started to cry. Malik stepped in front of her. I moved to block their parents, my hand on Malik's shoulder. "What do you think you're doing?" Sabrina shouted. "Are you out of your mind, Bernice? You steal our money and kidnap our kids?" In the next room, I knew. Ms. Evans' recorder was catching every sound. "I didn't steal anything," I said. "I moved my sister's money into an account in her real family's name. As for the children, I walked them out of a house where their parents are keeping a sick woman locked in a basement." Darius flinched. "Mama, lower your voice," he hissed. "You can't just say stuff like that. People will get the wrong idea." "I saw Lydia," I said. "I saw the IV. I smelled the bleach. You told me she was dead. You brought me an urn and said you did me a favor." Sabrina's face twisted. "We took care of her," she snapped. "We did what nobody else would do. We gave her better care than any nasty home. You should be thankful. Taking a person's body and their money at the same time is not care," I replied. "It's prison." Her eyes went flat and cold. "You don't know anything about money," she said. "That's why you were always broke. You're old, Bernice. You don't understand how the world works now." She took 2 quick steps closer. I could smell her perfume and sweat. "Transfer it back," she said. "Right now. Call the bank. Tell them it was all a big mistake." "No," I said. "One word, solid as a brick." Darius swallowed. "Mama, please," he said. "You don't know what you're doing. That money, that house, everything will be gone. You're blowing up our whole life. Think about the kids." "I'm thinking about the kids," I answered. "That's why we're not in that house. That's why I called the health department. They should be at your front door right about now." Real fear flashed in his eyes. He looked at Sabrina. She glared at me. "You called who?" she asked. "An inspector," I said. "They have the right to see any patient in home care. They have the right to walk into that basement and see what I saw." For a heartbeat, the room was silent. Somewhere behind the wall, a soft click came from the connecting door. Ms. Evans was listening. Sabrina broke first. She let out a humorless laugh. "You think you're smart," she said. "You think this is some TV show. You're not a hero, Bernice. You're a tired old woman who should have stayed in her place. We gave you a room when you had nothing." "I had a condo I paid for with 40 years of work," I said quietly. "I sold it because I trusted my son. I trusted you. That will not happen again." Her gaze slid to the kids. I watched something change in her face. The anger did not fade. It turned sharp. "Fine," she said. "Keep the money. Spend it on your half-dead sister if that makes you feel big." She lunged, not at me, but past me. Her hand clamped around Malik's wrist. She yanked him toward her with too much force. Malik cried out. Zoe screamed. "Hez my son!" Sabrina shouted, dragging Malik in front of her like a shield. "You can't keep my son from me. Do you hear me? I will take him right now." She wrapped her arm tight across his chest. Malik tried to twist free, eyes wide with pain and fear. "Let him go," I said. My voice was low, but it cut the air. "Make me," she spat. "Call whoever you want. As long as I have him, you'll do what I say. You'll move that money back. You'll come home. You'll shut your mouth about the basement." Behind her, Darius dropped to his knees on the stained carpet. He grabbed at the hem of my sweater. "Mama, please," he sobbed. "Just fix it. Put the money back. We can send Lydia somewhere else. We can explain. I'll make it right. I swear I will." I looked down at him. I remembered the boy with scraped knees and comic books, the teenager who borrowed my car and brought it back on empty. Now there was a man kneeling in a dirty motel room, begging to keep the life he had built on my sister's body. "You had 5 years to make it right," I said. "You chose not to." Sabrina shook Malik again. "Are you hearing her?" she yelled at him. "She doesn't care what happens to you. She only cares about her stupid sister and her stupid pride." Malik's eyes met mine over her arm. They were wet, but he was still there, waiting to see if I would break. I did not move closer. I did not plead. Fear pressed on my ribs, but under it there was a calm, flat place. "Thank you," I said quietly. Sabrina blinked. "For what?" she snapped. "For showing exactly who you are," I answered. A small metal click sounded behind us. The connecting door opened. Miss Evans stepped through, recorder in one hand, badge in the other. Mr. Nolan followed in his security jacket, big and solid in the doorway. "Mrs. Sabrina Cole-Monroe?" Miss Evans said. Her voice was calm and firm. "I'm Patrice Evans, with Mecklenburg County Child Protective Services. My colleague and I have been listening and recording the last 10 minutes. You need to let go of that child now." For the first time since she came in, Sabrina froze. Her grip tightened for a second, then slackened. "What is this?" she whispered. "What did you do, Bernice?" "I asked for help," I said. Mr. Nolan took a step forward. "Mom," he said, "if you don't release that boy, we'll have to treat this as a physical threat." Sabrina's jaw clenched. Then her hands fell away from Malik's chest. He ran to me like a rubber band snapping loose. Zoe latched onto my other side. Ms. Evans did not shout. She just said the truth. "What we heard," she said, "was a mother using her child as a bargaining chip in a conflict about money and a possible crime. That will go in my report. For now, the children will stay with their grandmother under our supervision. You and Mr. Monroe will be contacted by our office and by law enforcement." Darius wiped his face. "You can't do that," he whispered. "They're our kids." "They're also our concern," Miss Evans replied. "Their safety comes first. We are not abusers," Sabrina said. "We gave them everything: private school, good food, a clean house. You can't just walk in, and you can explain that to the judge," Ms. Evans said. "Right now, you both need to leave this room." Mr. Nolan stepped back toward the door, making space. Darius stood up slowly. He looked at me. For a moment, I saw the scared little boy under the grown man's face. "Why, Mama?" he asked. "Why did you turn on me?" "I didn't turn on you," I said. "You turned on us a long time ago. On Lydia, on me, on these children. Today I turned back toward the truth." He flinched. He turned and walked out. Sabrina followed, but she stopped in the doorway and threw one last look over her shoulder. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You're right," I said. "It just won't end the way you planned." The door closed. The room felt bigger and quieter all at once. Malik burst into tears. Zoe started crying too. They clung to me like two small branches in a storm. I wrapped my arms around them. "It's all right," I murmured. "You are safe. None of this is your fault. You did nothing wrong." Ms. Evans waited a moment, then spoke softly. "Ms. Monroe," she said. "Well, start the paperwork today. It will be meetings and waiting, but after what we recorded, you are in a good place to get custody." I nodded, still holding the children. "For the first time in a long time," I said, "I feel like I'm standing on solid ground again." I thought that after Sabrina and Darius stormed out of that motel room, everything would be over. I learned real life is slower than a movie. There is no quick fade to black. There are forms, offices, and long plastic chairs. That afternoon, Ms. Evans drove us back across the state line. Malik and Zoe sat in the back seat, small and quiet. I sat in the front and kept my hands in my lap so they would not see them shake. "We're going to a child advocacy center," she said. "It's a safe place. The kids will talk to a counselor. You will talk to a worker. Then, well, decide where you all stay for now." "Am I going to lose them?" I asked. "You protected them," she said. "That matters. The recording matters. The medical report on your sister will matter too. I can't promise the end of the story, but you're not starting on the losing side." The advocacy center looked like a small house. Inside, the walls were soft colors. Toys sat on low shelves. A woman with kind eyes greeted Malik and Zoe and led them into a room with beanbags and crayons. A nurse checked them in a small exam room. No bruises, no broken bones, just tight shoulders and tired eyes. After that, a social worker named Mr. Harris sat with me at a round table. "Here is what happens next," he said. "Today a judge will look at an emergency request. It asks that the children stay with you while we investigate. Your son and his wife will be told they can't take the kids from you." "Where will we sleep?" I asked. We use hotels for a few nights, he said, but I called someone who may have a better idea. He stepped out and came back with a tall woman in a navy dress. She held a folder. I'm Ms. Turner from the Senior Resource Center, she said. We manage some apartments for older adults. One just opened in a 55-plus building. 2 bedrooms, elevator, quiet street. If Child Services approves, you and the kids could move in this week. A place of our own? I asked. A place of your own, she said. Your name on the lease. While they made calls, I went back to the playroom. Zoe was drawing a big yellow sun over a square house. Malik was lining up blocks in a row. This is our new house, Zoe told me. Me, Malik, you, and Aunt Lydia. Nobody in the basement. No basement, I said, and kissed her hair. By late afternoon, an emergency order came through. Miss Evans laid the papers in front of me. At the top was the judge's name. In the middle were Malik's and Zoe's names. Near the bottom was mine. Until we finish our work, she said, you are their legal caregiver. Your son and his wife cannot take them from you. I traced my name with my finger. For months, I had felt like a piece of old furniture, something that could be moved without asking. Now a court paper said, this woman is needed. We moved into the new apartment 3 days later. It was on the 3rd floor of a brick building with a small garden out front. The manager gave us a key and a shy smile. The living room was not big, but it had a sliding glass door that opened to a little balcony. You could see the tops of trees and a park. 2 bedrooms stood off a short hall, one for the kids, one for me. We planned to put Lydia's bed in the living room near the window when she came. The first night we slept on loaner mattresses on the floor. The senior center sent over boxes with dishes, sheets, and towels. A church dropped off a table and 2 chairs. This feels weird, Malik said, staring at the new ceiling. It doesn't sound like the old house. What does it sound like? I asked. He listened. Quieter, he said, but not empty. That's a good sound, I answered. While we unpacked and learned the bus route, the outside world kept turning. I did not see it all, but Isaiah called to tell me pieces. The inspector went to the Huntersville house this morning, he said. When he asked for Lydia, Sabrina tried to pretend she didn't know who that was. He already had the file. He called the sheriff. Deputies came. By then the SUV was gone. They found your sister in the basement. I closed my eyes. Is she alive? I asked, though I already knew the answer. She's alive, he said. Thin, weak, but breathing on her own. They moved her to a rehab floor here in Charlotte. Real nurses. Windows. Your name is on the list to visit once the court names a new guardian. Who will that be? I asked. I told them it should be you, he said. That old power of attorney is frozen. The judge will look at your record and what you did for those kids. I don't see anyone else standing in line. She's my sister, I said. I've been standing in that line my whole life. At the same time, he went on, the sheriff and the bank are doing their part. Fraud, false papers, abuse of a disabled adult. It will take time, but it's not just your word anymore. I stood by the balcony door and watched a bus pull up to the park. So the wheel has started to turn, I said. Yes, ma'am, he answered. In the weeks that followed, I went to more meetings than Sunday dinners. A legal aid lawyer helped me fill out forms to be Lydia's guardian and to protect what was left of the money for her care and for the kids' future. You watched over other people's children for 40 years, she said. Now the law is letting you watch over your own family. The children started at a new school and a new pre-K. Their teachers knew a little bit of what had happened, not the ugly details, just enough to be gentle. One evening, after homework and hot dogs, Malik stopped me in the hallway. Grandma? He asked. Did Mama and Daddy always lie? Kids ask hard questions like they are asking for a glass of water. I think they lied to themselves first, I said. They told themselves what they did was okay. They said it was for family. They said it so many times that they believed it. Will I be like them? He asked. You get to choose who you are, I answered. Every day, you chose to tell me about your nightmare. You chose to walk out of that house with me. Those are the choices I see. He thought for a moment, then nodded and went back to his room. After he shut the door, I stood alone in the hallway. The apartment was quiet. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed and then faded. For most of my life I had been the person other people called when something went wrong. Miss Barry, the baby's not breathing. Miss Barry, the meds got mixed. I moved fast, fixed what I could, and went on to the next alarm. Now there was just this one long case. My sister in a rehab bed, my grandchildren asleep in the next room, my son and his wife running from the truth. The story was not done. There would be hearings and long days at the hospital and the courthouse, but we were not in the dark basement anymore. We were on higher ground, with windows and a door that opened when I turned the key. We were not finished fighting. We were just finished being silent. And this time, I was leading every single careful step. The day Lydia came home from the rehab center, the sky over Charlotte was bright and sharp. I stood at the window of our third-floor apartment and watched the wheelchair van pull up to the curb. The driver got out and lowered the ramp. A nurse stepped down behind him, and then I saw her. Lydia. Her hair was shorter now, with silver showing. A soft peach sweater lay over her shoulders. She didn't look like the woman I had seen in the dark basement. She looked like someone climbing back out of a long, deep hole. "Kids!" I called. "They're here." Malik and Zoe rushed to the balcony door. They pressed their faces to the glass. When they saw the wheelchair, Zoe waved so hard the glass shook. "That's Aunt Lydia?" she asked. "That's her," I said. "Let's go welcome her home." We went downstairs together. By the time we reached the front entrance, the driver and nurse had rolled Lydia up the ramp. She saw us, and her eyes brightened. They were still a little slow to move, but they were not empty. "Hey there, big sister," I said. Her lips trembled. It took a moment, but then I heard it my name, soft and rough, like a rusty hinge starting to move. "Barry," she whispered. I had been strong for so long that the sound of that word nearly broke me. We hugged as best we could with the wheelchair between us. Her arms were weak, but they reached for me. She reached because she wanted to. The nurse helped us get Lydia into the apartment. We had cleared a space in the living room near the sliding glass door. A narrow hospital bed sat there now, covered with a blue quilt Zoe had picked out. Next to it stood a small shelf with pictures our parents on their wedding day, Lydia and me in our nurse uniforms, Malik and Zoe at the park. The nurse went over the instructions one more time. Pills in the morning and at night. Stretching exercises twice a day. A therapist would still come 3 times a week. "Your sister is tough," the nurse said. "We don't see this kind of progress every day. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." After she left, the apartment felt full but peaceful. Malik brought out his latest Lego project and set it on a tray in Lydia's lap. "I made a train," he told her. "It goes to all the safe places." She blinked slowly, then lifted her hand. Her finger tapped the little plastic train car. "Good," she said. It was just one word. But Malik grinned like he had been given a prize. Zoe climbed carefully onto the bed beside her aunt and leaned against her arm. "I told my teacher my aunt was like Sleeping Beauty," Zoe said. "Only without the prince part, just doctors and grandma." Lydia let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Her mouth curved the tiniest bit. For her, that was a big smile. At night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on the balcony with a cup of tea and watched the city lights. Somewhere out there, my son and his wife were living the results of their choices. The last I had heard, the charges were moving forward: fraud, abuse of a disabled adult, child endangerment. Their lawyers called my lawyer. Papers went back and forth. There would be a trial. People asked me sometimes if I was going to sit in that courtroom and watch. Part of me wanted to look them both in the eye when the judge said the words out loud. But another part of me was tired in a different way. I had already watched them fall in the only court that mattered to me, standing in that motel room with their hands on my grandson. The rest belonged to the state. What mattered most now was here, inside these 4 walls. We had our routines. In the mornings I made oatmeal and eggs. Malik took the bus to school. Zoe and I walked to her pre-K. In the afternoons we wheeled Lydia out to the balcony when the weather was kind. She watched the kids draw with sidewalk chalk. Sometimes she would point, slow but sure, and say simple things: Sunday tree, bird. Every word was a small stone in a road leading back to herself. Back at home, I could feel small changes in the kids. Malik still had bad dreams sometimes, but now when he woke up, he did not freeze. He would slip out of bed and come to my door. "Grandma, I had that dream again, he would whisper. I know, I would say. But look around. Where are you? New house, he would answer. And who is here? You, Zoe, Aunt Lydia. Right, I'd say. No locks on the basement door, no humming at 4 in the morning. Just the ice maker and the bus brakes and the neighbor's little dog barking at squirrels. He would smile at that. The bad dream would loosen its hold. Zoe became Lydia's shadow. She brought her crayons and sang songs from school. One afternoon, I heard her say, "You don't have to talk if you don't want to. I'll talk for both of us." Lydia's fingers brushed her hair. Sometimes I sat and just watched them. They were the reason I had moved into that big cold house. They were the reason I had walked out. They were the reason I had picked up that red flip phone and made call after hard call. I used to think the bravest things I did in life were in a hospital, running down halls, pushing carts, giving chest compressions with sweat pouring down my back. Now I knew there was another kind of bravery, quiet bravery. The kind that gets up at 4 in the morning and says, "Not my family. Not anymore." If you are listening to me right now, maybe you are in your 50s, 60s, 70s. Maybe people talk over you like you are furniture. Maybe they treat you like you are lucky just to be in the room. Let me tell you something, neighbor to neighbor. Your story is not finished yet. You are not done being strong. You are not done making choices. You are not done protecting the people you love, including yourself. One evening, as the sun slid down behind the trees, Malik sat beside me on the balcony and asked, "Grandma, are we going to be okay now?" From inside the apartment, we could hear Zoe telling Lydia a long, serious story about a frog who wanted to be a doctor. "Yes," I said slowly, "we are. It doesn't mean life will be easy. There will still be bills and appointments and hard days. But we are standing on the truth now. We are together. That's what okay looks like for us." He leaned his head against my shoulder. "I like this okay," he said. Every night before bed, I walk past Lydia's chair and touch her shoulder. I look in on Malik and Zoe and pull the blankets up over their feet. I turn off the lights and stand for one quiet moment in the hallway, listening to the soft sounds of their breathing and the faint hum of the fridge. The house in Huntersville with its locked basement and white kitchen is just an address now, a place on paper where other people will argue over what happened. This small apartment with its drawings on the walls and a wheelchair by the window is home. And now, dear listener, if this story stirred something in you, don't just close the window and drift away. Stay with us. Tap that subscribe button so you'll know when the next story comes out. Press the like button if you want more tales about ordinary people finding their courage. And if you have thoughts, questions, or your own story to share, write them in the comments. I really do read them. Thank you for walking with me all the way to the end. When this video finishes, you'll see another story appear on the screen. Go ahead and click it. Your next chapter is waiting.